Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for coming to this month's Artists in Action, How to Sell Your Art Online, Part 1. My name is Clara Shook. I'm the event coordinator for the West Business Development Center. This workshop is brought to you by the West Business Development Center. We are a nonprofit funded by the Small Business Administration, a federal organization, and we host two centers. We host the Women's Business Center and we host the Small Business Development Center for Mendocino and Lake County. Now, West, as you can see, are our beautiful funders below. We are funded federally, also through California state and local government grants. In exchange for these grants, West provides free confidential business services. Now, that means that our goal is to offer our free services to small business owners and entrepreneurs during every stage of business development. That includes artists too, because you are a business or an entrepreneur. And so that means that whether you're starting out with a part-time hobby that you'd like to take full-time, or you've been doing your art and your business for many, many years, we want to provide resources that help enable you to do exactly that. Now, how do we do that? We do this mainly through our free, no-cost one-on-one counseling. So we have a plethora of advisors who are each experts in their own field. So whether you need help with marketing, branding, HR and hiring contractors or assistants, taxes, whatever it may be, we have an advisor who can help you, whatever your issue might be. We also offer low-cost workshops and free webinars like the one you're at today, as well as loan packets and loan advising if you're getting ready to apply for a small business loan or you have questions about your small business loan. And that's pretty much how our funding is used. So if you'd like to learn more about our free services, please head on over to our website or give our office a call, and we can help get that process started. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things off to our amazing instructor today, Kate Berlin. Please take it away.
Thank you, Claire. I appreciate it. My name is Kate Borland, and I am so excited to be here. And we have a big audience today. So ask your questions in the Q&A. And what we're going to do, first I'll give you a background about myself. And today, this workshop is broken up into two different sections. Today is really talking about the foundation, the platform, what you need, your choices available to you. And then next week, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into really then how to market it, which is the next phase in terms of how to actually get the customers and, connect with buyers, those kinds of things. I am a digital marketing expert. I have been doing online marketing since 1999, actually probably even earlier than that. Have a really deep background in marketing in general and direct response marketing. And my passion is really helping demystify online marketing, just really with common sense thoughts and ideas and strategies that will work for you from where you are today to where you want to go. And so today we're really focusing on e-commerce in general. As I said, today is a two-part workshop. We're building your e-commerce foundation. What does that mean? What does that look like? How does that fit into your budget? And your love of or hate of technology, those kinds of things. And so hopefully we're going to be answering your questions. I'm going to kind of go through the high-level presentation, and then we'll leave 10 to 15 minutes towards the end just to ask your questions, and I will answer as many as I can within the hour that we have, so that we really, my goal is to have you walk away from this presentation today, this workshop today, with really a good understanding of what's important. So what are we going to have on today? So this workshop is for you if you are an artist or creative who wants to sell more art online without the hassle of technical overwhelm, struggle, and confusion. So by the end of this 2-day series that we're, today and then again next week, I want you guys to have the skills, or not the skills necessarily, but really the understanding of what the basics are so that you can get started. I don't want you to spend months building a website. I want you to be able to know that I can do this to get myself online now so that I can start creating, I can start connecting with people who want what I buy or what I sell, who want my art and with a bigger understanding of how to do that. So to get the most out of today's webinar, I want you to be an active listener. Take notes, write your questions down. If there is something urgent that Clara feels is important, based on what I'm talking about, she'll interrupt me and I'll answer that question. But most of the questions will be answered towards the end of the last 10 to 15 minutes. Screen size options for to view the screen are going to be up in the upper right hand corner of your Zoom. Bottom ribbon, if you take your mouse, if you want to ask questions, is below, and then again type questions and chat. And then I hope you enjoy and apply to your business. So here's what we're going to cover today. First of all is what to include in your e-commerce platform. What are the 3 things that really matter? How to choose the right e-commerce platform and tools to sell your art and avoid technical overwhelm, so that you can keep creating what you love. And then finally, how to reverse engineer a marketing roadmap that will work for you. And I will include, when the replay, there'll be some worksheets and things like that we'll send off to you to work on between now and next week. So let's first of all just really kind of clarify that selling online is critical to your success. E-commerce has increased by 30% this year, actually in 2020. 7.4 million new digital buyers are online this year. Marketplaces are exploding. There's a lot of noise. And what I want you to get out of this webinar today is really how to kind of cut through that noise and establish yourself as a brand, as an art brand that will, again, let you connect with customers and people who want what you sell, and even connect with other artists, those types of things. So, but this is really foundational in level in terms of what you need. So we're going to start by creating a plan to help you get found and stay top of mind. And that means that you are going to start by building your foundation. And what does that foundation mean? What do I mean by a foundation? By a foundation, I mean that how do you prepare your business to go online? What does that look like? What does that mean? We're going to talk about some simple tools to get you started, and then kind of an action plan for the foundation piece. So I start out by figuring out what your goal is, understand who your audience is. I'm going to ask that you clarify your story. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to clarify your story and why. Then also just kind of identify what art will you sell online, and we'll kind of close out with that high level concept here. So I am assuming, in terms of your goals, that most of you are here. There's really, and it's like, as you're marketing online, there's really 3 different strategies that you're using. Do you want more money? That means sales now. I'm not really interested in leads or a lot of prospecting. I want sales in the door, in my pocket, in my bank account right now. So what strategies, what systems are going to be best for that? What if you want leads? Maybe you are not necessarily ready yet to sell. Maybe you're more of a longer term creative, and so you want people that might be interested in that you could sell your future projects to. Or do you already have a large portfolio and you need more traffic? Either foot traffic to your gallery or to your website. So for the purposes of today, what I am assuming is that everyone is looking for consistent sales of their art. So what I'm going to be talking about, and I'm assuming that most of you do not have active websites, or if you do, you're not getting sales to them. And if you could just, for me in the Q&A, or, just, or, the chat, let me know, put a yes if you have a website already, or no if you don't. And so that you put that either in the chat or in the Q&A, so that I kind of get some sort of an idea. And Claire, if you could let me know, what the majority are having in here. What do we have? So that I can customize if needed.
Certainly, we've got wide selection. I would say we've got some yeses, yes, yes, yes. Some nos, no website, no website. Yes, a website. Yes, yes, no, no. So don't
Okay.
currently have a website. So nice variety.
Okay, perfect. Then I know how to tailor some of the future stuff. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. So let's talk about e-commerce basics based on that. And so the first thing, the most, in fact, in many ways, this is like the most important piece, and is that owning your own domain name. And then second is going to make sure that you have an online platform. And then third is to develop a system that is going to actually help you attract customers to your business. So today is really talking about 1 and 2. Next week, we're going to really dig deep into how to develop that system. What does that system look like, that to help you connect with customers in a very simple way that will create those repeat sales and that ongoing business that you're looking for. So, what is a domain name? A domain name is simply the address of your website that people type in the browser bar to visit your website. In the simplest terms, it means it's like if your website was a house, then your domain name will be the address. And why that's important is because it's an owned asset. It's something that you control. You own it. And so later on today, we're going to be talking about whether you have and build your own website or whether you're going to use marketplaces like Etsy or eBay or Facebook Marketplace. We're going to be talking, kind of going deep into talking about some of those. But your domain name, if you start with nothing else, you can actually be up and running in a, with a mark, and selling your art by the end of today, if you wanted to, with just a domain name. So, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. It is really the single most important piece. It establishes your brand and helps your customers find you. And so, in terms of choosing a domain name, I recommend that every artist, especially when you're an artist, because you are the artist, that you, if possible, buy your own, purchase your own domain name and brand yourself. If you think about all of the great artists and the really, highly paid artists, they all have their own domain name. They all own their own. They brand themselves, and then they go off in the creative direction that they need to go as they build their business, as they build their brand. And then the store is hosted somewhere else, and I'll talk about that technical aspect. But whether you own a gallery or a store or whatever you happen to have named your business, choose a domain name that you own and that you control and that you can then point anywhere that you need, so that you can start. In all honesty, by the end of today, for those of you that have things already up and ready to go. So we have our domain name. That's like, and to purchase a domain name, you're going to go to some place like Namecheap or GoDaddy, and you're just going to search for domain names that make sense for you, for your business. You're going to look for kateborland.com or fredsamson.com or whatever your name is. That would be my first choice for most artists, to brand yourself. The second choice would be to, if you have a business and you have an established business, or you work under a particular name, then you would look for that name by .com as best as possible. As that's going to be, look for the .com name. It's the most marketable. It's the most memorable. Most people automatically type in .com. And if you have the option to buy .com and .net, buy both of them, because again, the more assets you own as you're selling your business, as you're selling your products, the more and the more you control everything that goes on in your business. So marketing online is it's digital in nature, but they are still digital assets. Are still digital assets. You own them, you control them. It's extraordinarily important to own that as you're building a brand and as you are moving forward in terms of building your business. So then there's two strategies to choose from when building your foundation. First is going to be building your own website. Are you going to choose to build your own website on something like Shopify or other platforms, or are you going to choose online marketplaces, or both? And both is fine as well. Um, so e-commerce strategies in terms of again, you want to create your own, you want to leverage marketplaces, or do you want to do both? And the pros and cons of building your own website on, and these are some places that you can build them on: Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, PrestaShop. There's a ton of platforms that you can use to choose to build your website. And it's going to depend on, there is no best one necessarily. It's going to depend on your needs as an artist, as a creator, as a maker, in terms of what you need. You want something just, really simple. Are do you have someone that's helping and work? Do you have a lot of products to sell? Are you creating, physical products that are originals? And then are you selling maybe print on demand products as well, in terms of t-shirts and licensing your art in other ways? Though that's all kind of the business model of how you're marketing your products and how you're going to sell your products. And we're not going to go into depth on that necessarily, but I do want you to think about that. I'm assuming that most of you are creatives and you have artwork that you're creating, and you're looking for an outlet to sell it initially. And so if you're going to build your own website, it's an owned asset. You have the most control. It does take longer time to get to market. And then there's an expense to it, which can be as little as $10 a month to as much as hundreds of dollars a month, depending on how much volume you have and what it is that you're selling, how many products you're selling, what types of products you're selling. Are you mass producing things, or is everything an original work of art? So the second option is to leverage marketplaces such as Etsy, eBay, Amazon, um, Facebook marketplaces, some of the social media marketplaces. That's going to be your second option, um, where you are just going to start out and you're going to start using those marketplaces, and you're going to buy a domain name, and then you're going to go to Facebook today, or you're going to go to Etsy, and you're going to create a store, and then you're going to point your domain name to Etsy. Say let's assume that you're using Etsy because there's a big marketplace there. Um, but the pros is that it's a built-in audience, that there are people already there looking for what you sell. They're looking for art. They're looking for um, they're looking for things made that are personalized and one-offs, and they're not necessarily looking for mass-produced things. So it can be up and running in minutes. And the real cons are that you don't own it, and there's higher risk. So if you break the rules, those marketplaces can shut your business down like that, and it happens. So that's some of the cons. And I really recommend that every business owner that every artist do both. That you, again, start with your domain name, start with marketplaces, and then then build a website, even if it's only a one-page website that's telling about you, the artist, and then have it linked to whatever marketplace you're selling to, um, or um, build a store, where you own your own, like say Shopify store or BigCommerce or something along those lines. And again, if you're having any questions that are coming up that are relevant, go ahead and pop it in the Q&A, not in the chat box, in the Q&A, because that's where we're going to be answering questions from at the end. So examples of marketplaces are eBay, Etsy, Facebook, Instagram. Specifically for the art world, Society 6, Azista, Indie Made. There are a ton of marketplaces that you can be on. And so part of your job, as in terms of building that foundation, is buying the domain name. You're going to hear me say that over and over and over again. So you're not going to just rely on, say, Etsy or Society 6 or Indie Made. You're going to pick your home base, and then you're going to tell the like GoDaddy or Namecheap to point your domain to eBay. So, and then all of your marketing would be your website name, and it would all go to your Etsy shop. So people are not searching and struggling, to find you. Alternatively, you can be on multiple marketplaces at one time, which allows you then to maybe if you have different types of niches that you're in or different types of artwork that you create, you might have, a one set of your art, or one type of your art on Etsy and another type of your art on, say, Society 6 or even Facebook or Instagram. But for the most part, most of you, I would have you choose one, only because if you diffuse yourself and you put yourself in too many places, it becomes hard to manage. It also becomes expensive, and you don't really necessarily know where the orders are coming from. So as you're starting out, pick one, and start there, and start to really market that on. And we'll go into this next week, where you're actually promoting back to your website, like your Etsy store. You're leveraging Facebook to promote back to your Etsy store or something along those lines. So here is an example of Facebook Marketplace for art. So this is the kind of how the power of Facebook Marketplace as an example, where you are going to market. You're going to upload your art to Facebook Marketplace. You'll start a Facebook page as an example of a marketplace, and then you will just you're able to list your art right on Facebook, and it will show up in the marketplace for you. So, and then people who are looking for art, I just typed in art, and these are all of the different things that are there. And people are going to click through it and like it and buy it or not. And the more you promote it, the more people will find you. But this, again, is just the foundational piece. It's really super simple to do. Lots of different competition. It's not necessarily you don't own this. Another negative about this is that people might be here, but you're not able to capture their email address or anything along those lines to help you actually build a longer term business. Etsy is another one. So here are all of the different options in Etsy. Artist gifts, artist gift. These are keywords that people search for. But the positive thing about using a marketplace, again, is that there are people who go to Etsy to find one-off pieces, to find that custom made piece, if that has been handmade, or that handmade piece. And there are some people on Etsy that will custom order things. You can also just say, I've got one of these, and you buy it or it's gone. And that's kind of that exclusivity that makes selling online very, very powerful. But those are kind of just two of the marketplaces. There's a ton more. These are the two biggest right now. And then obviously there's eBay as well. So Facebook Marketplace is used in 70 countries by 800 million people monthly. The buying and selling platform is also used in one in three people use Facebook Marketplace. It's really the biggest right now on the planet. And it's growing. So and COVID-19 and what's happened in the last year has been a huge boon for leveraging Facebook to market your art and your creatives. So how are we going to start? We're going to start by starting small and keeping it simple. Minimum is I want you to buy a domain name. I think, again, I'm going to say that over and over and over again. I can't say that enough. Keep the domain name separate from where you actually build and host your website. And if anyone has any questions about that, I'll go into more depth on that later, but, ask. But the reason why you keep your domain name, let's say I would buy my domain name at a place called Namecheap or GoDaddy, and then I would use Shopify perhaps to build my website, to build my e-commerce site. And the reason I do that is because they're two separate pieces. It's like having a toothbrush and a toothpaste. You need both to brush your teeth, but they're two separate types of products. And your domain name is something that is like the most important asset you have. Your store you can rebuild, but people buy and sell domain names all the time. And if you forget to renew the domain name, or maybe something happens and you don't, something happens and you don't pay for your Shopify store, or because that's an ongoing subscription, and so you lose access to that, you could also possibly lose the domain name. So keep them separate, because it becomes it's something that they're not tied together, and it gives you more flexibility down the road in terms of as your business grows and scales. So then we're going to build websites in both marketplaces or both. We're going to decide what to sell. And then I'm going to have you tell your story to connect with buyers. And what I mean by that is, what makes you different is you. As an artist, as a maker, as a creative, what sets you apart from everybody else is your story, your calling. Why are you doing this? What brought you to create this, this your art, and tell your story. And when you do that, then people resonate with you, and they'll come back to you, and you'll build a fan base, and they'll refer friends. There is a gal in my town. She's an artist, and she has a thing about trees, and she just builds these amazing wire trees. Everything is made out of wire and different types of mediums to make these trees. And it might be a sculpture, it might be a wire piece, it might be in a frame. But what she does is she tells her story about her trees. She starts the tree and says, this is a project that I'm working on. And we're going to go into this a lot next week. But, as she starts working on the piece, she starts sharing pictures of it. I'm starting this. And 90% of the time, that piece is sold before it's finished. And then she might even have some additional art pieces she might get some additional sales from other people that might be custom pieces of art, or the next pieces of art that projects that she's working on. So by telling your story and connecting with your buyers, that is the number one element that's going to set you apart, that's going to help you grow your business, help you make the connections in terms of really launching and getting started. What I don't know about everyone that's here, and we'll, hopefully in the Q&A, we'll get a little bit deeper into this, because ask those questions. You are all in different places. Some of you have a website or in galleries, and you're looking to scale to the next level. So I can answer some of those questions. Some of you are just getting started, and the needs of what you're doing from, my expertise is really helping identify where you're at, and then saying, okay, well, these are the steps to get you to where you want to go. And so it's going to kind of depend on the starting place in terms of where you're at. But this is really sort of the basics of, no matter whether you're just starting out, or no matter if you are ready to scale and you're wanting to connect with gallery owners and you're wanting to really, bump it up a notch, kick it up a notch, as I think it was Emerald Lagasse used to say, um, is going to be about your story and how you brand, and how you brand your art, how you brand you, how you connect your customer, your buyer, to your artwork and to the process and to the creative process of what you're building. Hopefully that makes sense. And this is doing this too much here. So then we're also, we want to really keep it as simple as possible. Too many people make the e-commerce thing really, really difficult. If you have one piece of art that's ready to go, we're going to build a website with one piece of art, and you're going to market that one piece of art, and or you're in the creative process for one piece of art. If you have a huge gallery already of artwork, and maybe you're doing printables, or maybe you're doing something more licensing type of thing, that's the next level. But for what we're talking about today is really, how do you keep it simple? And that's just starting with a domain name, building a simple website. And I'll talk about different platforms in a bit, or during the Q&A. So what does that mean in terms of keeping it simple? These are sort of the 5 steps. So we're going to start by getting the domain name. Then we're going to build your portfolio. You're going to create or repurpose, ideally 10 to 25 related artworks to get started with. Some of you are only going to have one. If you only have one, two, three, if you only have one, that's okay. But start by collecting, what is that portfolio? Do you have, and it's going to be also depend on the medium that you are working with. And since I don't have that answer, I can't, go in depth, but build your portfolio. Then you're going to decide what to sell, or where to sell, depending on if you want to sell digital or physical goods. It's going to vary. So if you're selling digital goods and you're selling printables on t-shirts and mugs, that opens up a bigger audience than if you're selling physical goods and the manufacturing of that and the time it takes to actually produce it. So you're going to decide where to sell. Then you're going to scan your digital products up, or you're going to take, photograph the art, and you're going to upload it to your website or to your marketplace. And then you're going to upload your designs, and then you're going to move into that marketing piece. It really is as simple as this. And you are in the marketing component, you're simply going to connect your story to your art, to that particular piece of art, to whatever your goals are. And that story will propel you forward as long as you have those systems in place where people can pre-order, people can order and pay for it before it's even done, put a deposit down on it before the piece is even completed. So those are kind of it in a nutshell in terms of the 5 steps. If you want me to, I can dive through into some, different platforms that I will talk about that, because there is one of the first questions that was asked that I saw go into the Q&A was, I want to know what the best platform is. There is no best platform. There is the right platform for you. There is your systems that you put in place. There is the consistency of your marketing. There is the simplicity of your marketing. and there is, you're making the choice. What am I going to sell online? Am I going to have my domain name? Am I going to start out on Marketplace and then really kind of leverage social media to build that? Or am I going to build my own website and drive everyone to my website itself and blog and, make it a little bit more in depth, where I'm really actually building a brand, or, take that process through, again, it's depending on where you're starting. Okay, so then we're going to make sure that you're ready. What I want you to do is we're going to take some time now to plan and write down to stay on track. And what does that look like? Does that look like, how are you, what are you making that choice in terms of e-commerce? I'm going to back this up a little bit because this is really not what I wanted to do right now. I want to stay here for a bit. So, I mean, it really is just as simple as this. So I'm going to go to Q&A right now, and let's kind of answer up some, see what's going on, and I will kind of go into depth. Clara, do you want me to just pop in here and answer, or do you want to ask away, or kind of what works best for you?
Why don't I go ahead and just ask the questions, and that way you can just focus on answering.
I like it.
Super. So let's see. First question after the very first question, which you just answered, is from Sue. Will you be covering dealing with paying retail taxes in many different states?
That is part of the e-commerce. I will answer that question. That's a little bit more advanced than what we're talking about, but that would be why you would use something like Shopify, or WooCommerce, or a platform where it's already set up for you. In terms of your e-commerce site, what you're able to do is establish that you upload the online platforms are already set up to do that. There's technology and plugins that you're able to just define what the taxes are and how you're going to handle that. Now, what a lot of my clients will do is they will choose you set it up so that it automatically defines the taxes as you're checking out. So the shopping cart will set that up for you. Does that answer your question? And then, so you're gonna price your product, you're gonna add shipping to it, and then like Shopify or eBay or Etsy will add that tax for you. Hopefully that answers your question.
Fantastic, thank you. Next question is from Paul. How about selling dimensional art, high relief, or sculpture?
So dimensional art or sculpture is going to be what I was talking about early. Again, it's still digitally, it's still going to be the same. From the e-commerce platform perspective, it's going to be exactly the same. You're going to take the picture of it, and maybe you're not going to have it done yet. So you're going to share examples of your art, and then you will use your marketing to tell the story as you're building it and kind of pre-sell things. So it's going to depend on whether or not you have a backlog and you already have physical art, or you already have those sculptures created. Then you're going to market it like you would any other product. You're going to take the pictures, you're going to take from all the different angles, you will load it on your website or on the marketplace, and then you will connect you to the story. Especially when you're selling three-dimensional stuff, that's where your story really comes into play. Is what is the story behind this? What's that creative drive? What are you thinking about as you're building it? But the practical side of building that e-commerce is exactly the same. If it's already built, you're going to load. You're going to just like you would a tube of toothpaste. I mean, it's a physical product. But then you have to, determine the delivery of it. And that's part of the business setup that you're doing as you're building your store. Um, and if I need to go deeper into that, I will try to do that next week. Next question.
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you. Next question from Anthony. What are your thoughts about selling art at a fixed price versus through auction sites, daily printware or eBay or even on your site?
I prefer everything to be a fixed price, but there are times, I'm not a big fan of eBay, in all honesty, especially, again, it's going to depend on what you're selling, whether or not it's, if it's mass produced, that's one thing, and it can be bought other places. But you guys, I would hope we're building a business and a brand. So price it based on, where you're building a brand for yourself. I would flat price it. I would choose a price based on the hours that, so that so that you make sure that it's priced to reimburse yourself for the amount of materials that you've used and for your time. And that's the advantage of having your own website where you're setting the price, and and then you're able to put a marketing system in place where you can work the numbers that says I want to sell this many pieces of artwork, so that you're actually able to help control the money side of things, which is important for all of us.
Fantastic. Thank you. Next question from Wendy. I'd like to learn how to do print on demand. Do you have a course specifically on this, or can you direct me to? Thanks.
I can direct you to that. I'll put that in the resources that there's some really good print on demand programs out there. I have a few things that, I do print on demand myself. So yes, but I will include that resource in the follow-up.
Fantastic. Thank you. And just to remind everyone, I will be emailing a link to the recording as well as a copy of the slides and any other handouts Kate has graciously offered to give. So look in your inbox sometime later this week for that email. It will be on its way, I promise. Next question from Heather. Which market site is higher end?
I really didn't look at that. I will also include that. I didn't look at it from higher end versus lower end. I just took a look at, they're out there. So I will get those links for you as well.
Super, thank you. Next question from Lawrence. I do t-shirt sales online. Which do you recommend? Thanks.
I'm not sure I understand the question. So if you do
t-shirt, perhaps which e-commerce site?
Again, that's going to be t-shirts are going to, Amazon has a huge marketplace for t-shirts. Etsy has a huge marketplace for t-shirts. Facebook has a huge marketplace for t-shirts. When you're doing t-shirts online, that's really, Instagram is really all about the hashtags. How do you, because you're going to niche that down into what your creatives are. Is it mushrooms? Is it cats? Is it dogs? Is it, and then you are going to, is it people's last names? Is it, and you're going to, that's really about the marketing and the targeting, and then creating phrases and those kinds of things that are going to connect with that particular audience. The worst thing you can do is have this shop of all of this different medley of different types of creatives that don't fit a particular niche. T-shirts are very specific about the audience and what they're interested in. I'm working with someone who sells mushroom T-shirts, and it's a different niche than some of the other stuff that he does. So that's really marketed really all about the hashtags and connecting with that specific audience.
Fantastic. Thank you. Next question from Wayne. Based on your experience, would you recommend a general marketplace artist website or a target specific website for someone who is a photographer?
I would brand myself as a photographer, and I would brand me. And then on my website, I would have niche specific pages. about my particular art. And then I would find the marketplaces, much like the t-shirts, where those people that really love that kind of art are hanging out.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next question from Susan. Is it better to have your actual name as the domain name?
Again, that's a personal choice. I recommend that every single person who is doing business online, who is a creative, who is branding themselves, has purchased their own domain name if they can. So you can always have a subset. You can have multiple domain names, but what I would use, because artists tend to have different branches of themselves. Sometimes they're into one medium, sometimes they're into another medium. They're different audiences. So if you have your own domain name as your home base, because we'll remember the artist's name, we won't necessarily remember what type of art that they do. So that's why I recommend your own name.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next question is from Wendy. How long should the story be?
The story should be an ongoing story, but the initial story is really about, like think about if you're creating an About Me page, maybe 3 paragraphs. That's really going to kind of tell the journey and I will include in today's worksheet, and what you receive is a story kind of framework for you to create that. Typically it's about 3 paragraphs, but it is going to start with, what is that drive? What is it that burning? Every artist I know, there's a reason they're an artist. There is something, it's not something you necessarily choose. Most artists, they're driven to do it. They have to create it. And and so what is that story from a childhood to, successes and failures, and but typically 3 paragraphs.
Great. Next question. I already have a domain name for my website. Do I need to put a different one if I join a marketplace?
No, what you would do is you would upload your from your website will be your home base. So that, and then you can link to like particular pieces. So then you're going to choose, am I going to list this piece on the marketplace? So then you would link to from your website to the marketplace. And so the answer to your question is no. You can leverage the marketplaces and still have your own domain name. And you would link from your own website to the marketplace and vice versa.
Great. Next question is from Liz. Marketers seem to be saying that blogs are dead. I couldn't disagree more, in the past at least. It's been my best-selling video. Not much of a question there, but so Kate, do you think that blogs are dead?
It's funny. I was having a conversation about this morning on someone was saying, well, SEO is dead and email marketing is dead. So people are saying that stuff is dead for, forever. So no, blogs are not dead. They are, as long as Google is around, as long as content is around, blogs will not be dead.
Great. Thank you. Next question from Alina. What if you have used your domain name already to sell the book you wrote?
I'm not sure. If you already have your domain name, then we'll leverage that domain name. And you can have more than one domain name and point both domain names. But if you, okay, so if as a book artist, as a book writer, then you can have the domain name that's the name of the book. And then you could also have your own business name or your own personal brand name. And then again, maybe you're going to eventually write 3 or 4 or 5 books. So you'll have all 3 or 4 or 5 books listed there, with each book would have its own domain name and its own name with its own profile page. And then you'll link to it from you, the author page, to that website, and then to the different marketplaces that it's listed on. Hopefully that answers the question. Hopefully I understood that question.
Wonderful. Thank you. A question from Sue. Also have a Facebook page, but not a marketplace. Should I set up a shop on my space or have people email me to purchase? Which is also brings back the question about retail taxes when people are buying in several different states.
I would build taxes. So to answer that question, I would build my taxes into my pricing. So, when you're in that kind of a scenario, you will, what I do is I think New York I think has like the highest taxes in the country. So I will typically go with like a 10%, I will build that into my pricing, do a one-off, and choose, charge one price. And then, if, and then you'll deal with that with through your e-commerce and through your accounting software, you're able to handle the taxes. But that's probably going to be a deeper question in terms of the business setup that you would meet with maybe the accountant or the at West Center to help you establish what that looks like in terms of the back end. But if you are on Marketplace, I would choose like a high, I would build that tax into my price.
Great. Question from another Susan. What is a tag?
A tag is a search term. A hashtag is a search term. So let's say that you are there. There are people that love mushrooms, and I just went through this. That's why I'm using this example. And there's all these different types of mushrooms, and there's food mushrooms, there's people that collectible mushrooms. So a tag is a search term that someone is going to search for when they're looking for the kind of art that you create or the type of t-shirt that you create. Maybe it's, dog. So what are you going to search for? And it's going to be typically one or two words, is it a dog? Is it a cat? Is it a mushroom? Is it a unicorn? Hopefully that answers the question.
Great, thank you. Question from Susan. As a marketing person, how do you think an artist should have distinct way or process or image repeat? Most galleries want artists to be in a series, for example. An artist can paint abstracts, but what if you also create figurature art?
Can you reread that question? I'm not sure. I need to process that more.
Certainly. As a marketing person, how do you think an artist should have a distinct way or process or image repeated? Most galleries want artists to work in a series. For an example, an artist can paint abstracts, but what if you also create figurative art?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. So if we'll go through and I will kind of answer that question next week.
Great. Yes, and just as a reminder, so we only have about 5 minutes left until we're at the top of the hour. If your question doesn't get answered today, come back again next week, ask your question again, make sure to put it in the Q&A and we will get to it, I promise. So next question is, let's see, does Etsy allow me to get my customers' emails so I can build my newsletter?
Yes.
For Karen.
Yes, it does.
Great. Next question. If we decide to have both marketplace and website, do we need 2 domain names?
No, you do not. Again, you use your home base. You use your website as your base, and you link from marketplace to your website, and you link from your website to marketplace.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Next question is, let's see, just going down a little further down. What is no marketplace used? Sue, I'm not really sure about the question. Maybe you could let us know in the comments about that question. So I'm just going to go down to the next question. On Facebook Marketplace, there's no category for fine art. Am I missing it? From Carol.
No, it's just art. So there is no for fine art. It's you're not missing it. You just are going to list it on Marketplace by the piece, and
great.
So you're not missing it. You're just going to use the art category and the hobbies and art category.
Great. Next question: how do I get more traffic on Shopify? From Sabine at Little Cup.
We'll cover that next week.
Excellent. Next question from Lisa. What platforms do you recommend for fine art, smaller pieces?
I will answer that question next week. I'll write that down and make sure, because there's a lot of fine art questions. So we'll go into that next week as well.
Okay, great. Let's see. Next question, going down the list. Is it bad to sell a lot of different types of artwork, different styles and medium on one site?
No, you just are going to list it by categories. Again, part of what that most artists are known for a particular type of art. So if you can segment those pieces of art into styles or into categories, so to speak, so that someone that's looking for sculpture can find sculpture, and someone that's looking for painting can find painting, paintings, then that's going to be best. As long as you have categories to help people find it, when they're searching on your website. But you're going to try to tie your story into why you do have, kind of more of an eclectic mix of different types of mediums that you're working with. That's part of the story that you tell.
Understood. Let's see. We've got about 2 more minutes, so let me go scroll down a little bit further and find our next question. Again, thank you everyone for all of your questions. Please be sure to bring your questions back again for next week. We'll be covering a lot more information. So next question is from Kira. I just signed up for Squarespace. I had to switch my domain name to their host, so the toothbrush and toothpaste are all in one. Do you think it's too risky to stay or switch over the domain name to a separate once the year ends?
I would transfer my domain name somewhere else. It's not risk. I mean, as long as you're on top of it, but just know that you would try to transfer your domain name somewhere else. It's my preference, and only because I have nightmare stories to tell. But for now, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and build, and what's most important is to get started and start selling.
Super. Well, thank you all so much. We've just got another minute left. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. This poll is from the West Business Development Center. It is how we find out from you, the small business owners, the artists, the entrepreneurs, what you're looking for in your next workshop. These questions also really help us maintain our funding so that we can keep providing these free resources. Now, while I have the poll up and open, Kate, do you mind, answering another question?
Of course. Go ahead. Ask away.
Thank you. One question is, how or where do you learn how to light and photograph art?
There are courses online. Coursify has a good one. You can find that even, on YouTube. You can search for some of those things. But I will look for some resources on that as well. And also include, you can buy like little light. It's going to depend on how large they are, but there are actually even kits that you can buy, inside Amazon. It will have like a light box and all that, that you need. So I'll share some resources on that for you.
In the meantime, Kate, I want to say a huge thank you for being with us today, for sharing all this wonderful information. Thank you so, so much.
You're very welcome. I want to answer one thing I just saw in the chat. Someone asked, they're in New York, does it matter? Can I use the resources? You can use the resources. You're fine. So what we're sharing, you can use.
Yes, absolutely. Which brings up an excellent point. If you are in Mendocino or Lake County on the West Coast in California, I really encourage you to reach out, call us, let us know if we can help you and we can put you in touch with one of our advisors. If you are not in California, in Mendocino or Lake County, you can call us anyway because we can help put you in touch with your local SBDC and WBC. They offer the same resources as far as free advising. You can keep coming to our workshops. We'd love to see you here, and we'd love to help you however we possibly can. This is a cross America resource that funded through the SBA, and they are here for you, for the small business owners, entrepreneurs, artists. We want to help however we can. So let us know how we can. I think that's all for now. Thank you again all so much for coming, for your questions. I look forward to seeing everyone at next week's session. And thank you again, Kate.
You guys are very welcome. I'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.